There is a particular kind of exhaustion that only certain people will recognize immediately, the kind that comes not from physical work, but from spending an entire day being present for other people, performing warmth, managing conversations, and holding yourself together in public, only to finally close the door at the end of the day and feel like every ounce of energy has been quietly drained out of you. If you know that feeling, there is a good chance you are an introvert. And if you are also someone who genuinely cares about people, thinks deeply about almost everything, and has an almost uncomfortable ability to sense what others are feeling before they say a word, then there is an even better chance you might be an INFJ. Today I want to talk about something very specific and very practical, the daily habits and routines that actually help INFJs function well, stay productive, and protect their mental and emotional health without shutting the world out entirely. First, let me quickly explain what INFJ means for anyone who is not familiar. INFJ is a personality type from the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, also called MBTI. The letters stand for introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. It is considered the rarest personality type in the world, found in roughly 1 to 3% of people. INFJs are known for being deeply empathetic, highly perceptive, and strongly values-driven. They care enormously about meaning and purpose. They form very deep but selective connections with others, and they tend to spend a great deal of time in their own inner world, processing thoughts and emotions in ways that other people often do not fully see. The challenge for INFJs is that their inner life is incredibly rich and active, but managing the demands of the outer world, work, relationships, social interactions, responsibilities, can feel genuinely overwhelming without the right structure in place. That is exactly where daily habits become so important. One of the most critical habits for an INFJ is protecting the first part of the morning as personal time. This does not have to mean waking up at an unrealistically early hour or following some elaborate wellness routine. It simply means creating a window, even just 20 to 30 minutes, where you are not immediately reacting to other people's needs, messages, or demands. For INFJs, the morning is often when the mind is clearest and most capable of deep thinking. Jumping straight into social media, responding to messages, or dealing with other people's problems first thing in the morning can set an anxious and reactive tone for the entire day. Instead, using that early window for something quiet and personal, whether that is journaling, reading, sitting outside with a warm drink, tending to a plant, or simply sitting in silence and letting your thoughts settle, gives the INFJ nervous system a chance to wake up gently rather than being immediately overwhelmed. Over time, this small habit has an outsized effect on overall mood, focus, and emotional resilience throughout the rest of the day. Journaling is something that comes up consistently when INFJs talk about what actually helps them. And the reason makes a lot of sense when you understand how the INFJ mind works. INFJs process an enormous amount of information internally: observations about people, feelings about situations, ideas, worries, memories, and insights that are constantly being generated and sorted in the background. Without a healthy outlet for all of that internal activity, the mind can become cluttered and overwhelming very quickly. Writing things down, not for an audience, not for any purpose other than getting it out, creates a kind of mental release valve. It transforms abstract, swirling thoughts into something concrete and manageable. It also helps INFJs identify patterns in their own behavior and emotions over time, which is something they genuinely value. You do not need a fancy journal or a specific format. A plain notebook, a notes app on your phone, or even a private document on your computer will do exactly the same job. The act of externalizing the internal is what matters. Another important daily habit for INFJs is intentional solitude, and I want to be very clear that this is different from isolation. Isolation is when you withdraw from the world because you are avoiding something or because the weight of everything has become too heavy to face. Intentional solitude is a deliberate and healthy choice to spend time alone in order to recharge, reflect, and reconnect with yourself. For INFJs, this is not optional. It is genuinely necessary for functioning well. After sustained social interaction, whether that is teaching classes, attending meetings, managing group dynamics, or even just being around other people for several hours, INFJs need quiet time to process what happened and restore their energy. Trying to push through without that recovery time leads to a very specific kind of INFJ burnout that is hard to describe but very easy to recognize if you have experienced it. It is not dramatic. It is more like a slow dimming. You become less able to access your empathy, your patience runs out faster, your thinking gets foggy, and everything feels heavier than it should. Building intentional solitude into each day, even just an hour of genuine quiet with no social demands, prevents that burnout from accumulating. Physical movement is another habit that INFJs often underestimate until they actually start doing it consistently. Because INFJs live so much of their lives in their heads, the body can easily become something that just carries the brain around rather than something that is actively cared for. But the connection between physical activity and mental clarity is very real and very strong. Movement, whether that is a short walk, tending a garden, doing some light stretching, or anything that gets you out of a sedentary position and into your body, helps discharge the physical tension that builds up from prolonged thinking and emotional processing. For INFJs who struggle with anxiety or depressive episodes, even a very small amount of daily movement can make a measurable difference in mood and cognitive function. It does not need to be intense exercise. Walking your dogs counts. Pulling weeds in the garden counts. Any deliberate physical activity that gets you out of your head and into your body for a few minutes is genuinely beneficial. INFJs also tend to do much better when they have a clear and simple daily structure rather than an open-ended schedule. This might seem counterintuitive for a personality type that values depth and meaning over routine, but the reality is that decision fatigue hits INFJs hard. When too many decisions are left open, what to eat, when to work, what to do during breaks, how to organize the day, the mental energy spent on those small choices adds up and eats into the energy available for the things that actually matter. Having a loose but consistent rhythm to the day, a time for work, a time for rest, a time for a hobby, a time for food, a time for sleep, removes a layer of daily friction and frees up mental bandwidth for more meaningful thinking. The structure does not have to be rigid. It just needs to exist as a default so that the brain is not constantly making micro-decisions about basic logistics. One habit that is specifically important for INFJs who deal with perfectionism, and many do, is the practice of setting a completion standard rather than a perfection standard. Perfectionism in INFJs often comes from a combination of their naturally high internal standards and a deep fear of being judged or misunderstood. The result is procrastination dressed up as preparation. You keep refining, keep waiting, keep telling yourself it is not quite ready yet, and meanwhile nothing gets done and nothing gets shared. The habit of asking yourself, is this good enough to serve its purpose right now, instead of, is this perfect, is genuinely transformative. It does not mean lowering your standards. It means being honest about what the actual goal is and releasing the work once that goal is met. A video that is filmed and posted imperfectly reaches people. A video that sits in your head because you have not figured out the perfect lighting yet reaches no one. Managing energy rather than managing time is perhaps the most important reframe for any INFJ trying to build consistent productivity. Most productivity advice is built around time. How many hours you have, how to fill them efficiently, how to squeeze more into each day. But for INFJs, time is not really the limiting factor. Energy is. A 2-hour window of high emotional and mental energy will produce more than an 8-hour day of depleted, going through the motions effort. Learning to recognize when your energy is genuinely available, usually after proper sleep, after intentional solitude, after food that actually supports your body, and scheduling your most demanding tasks during those windows, while using low-energy periods for lighter tasks like organizing, watching something, or doing physical chores, creates a rhythm that works with your nature instead of fighting it. Finally, one of the most quietly powerful habits for an INFJ is maintaining at least one creative or learning outlet that exists purely for personal enjoyment and growth, with no pressure attached to it. INFJs are naturally drawn to learning, to creating, to exploring ideas, but when every activity becomes tied to a goal or an obligation, the joy drains out of it quickly. Whether it is studying a new language just because the sounds and structure fascinate you, watching a drama just because the storytelling moves you, reading a book just because the ideas inside it are interesting, or making a video just because you want to practice and see what happens, having something that belongs entirely to you, with no performance expectation attached, is essential for keeping the INFJ spirit alive and motivated over the long term. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful or relatable, please subscribe to join my journey toward 2,000 videos. On this channel, I share unfiltered ESL stories, yes, even the toxic ones, alongside Japanese and Korean language tips, my plants, my pets, and the reality of solo living. If you'd like to support my work and help me build my retirement fund, you can buy a treat for my pets via the link in the description below. Every bit of support helps keep this channel independent and growing. See you in the next one.